Factorise the first few, and you complete the square in the second few. Factorising means you're going to have double square brackets because this is a quadratic. Something squared, then a letter, then a number at the end means it's quadratic. When they say factorise, and you know it's a quadratic, you get double brackets. What goes in the front of both brackets is the value that times is together to make that. So the only thing that times is together to make x squared is x times x. The two numbers that go here and here multiply together to make 24. So what I do is I factorise 24, and I write down all the numbers that are multiplied together to make 24. Whole numbers only. So that's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, 5 doesn't go into 24. My next number would be 6, but because it's already in my list, I know I have all the factors there. So one of those pairs will be my answer. You then look at which pair in some way will give you 10. 1 and 24, if I add them together or take them away, that will never give me 10. 2 and 12 will possibly give me 10. 3 and 8 would make 11 or 5, so that won't work. And 4 and 6 will also possibly give me 10. So I've got to decide which one of these two it is. I've got to end up with a plus 24. This tells me that the signs have to be the same. Because if you multiply something together, you'll get a positive answer if both the signs are the same. So I need to have either both minuses or both pluses. This tells me I want plus 10, so I want a plus here and a plus here. Looking at these, if I have to add them together, 2 and 12 makes 14, so it can't be that pair. 4 and 6 makes 10, so it had to be that pair. Part B, slightly more difficult because there's a coefficient of x squared. What you do is you realise it's going to be a quadratic and it's factorised. To get 5x, you have to put 5x here and x here. So when you multiply them together, it gives you 5x squared. Realising there's a 5 in front means whatever the number is at the end is going to be made 5 times bigger when you multiply it. So I know that one of them will be 5 times bigger. You then realise that the two numbers here and here must multiply to make 3, so you factorise 3. So the only way of getting 3 is 1 times 3. So I know it must be those pair of numbers. But I've got to realise what position to put them in. If I times the 1 by 5, because I remember one of them is going to be times by 5, that will give me a 5 and still the 3. 5 and 3 would make 8 or 2. That's never going to work. If I times the 3 by 5, that will give me 15 and 1. And that will give me the 16 I want. So I want to do 5 times 3, so the 3 has to go there. So that gives me 15x, and the 1 therefore must go here. If these are both plus, these are both plus. So my answer is 5x plus 1, x plus 3. These questions here are special. They are still quadratics, x squared, there is no value of x in the middle, and the number at the end is 100. So there's multiply together to make 100, but combined to make absolutely nothing. The only way of doing that is to square root this number. It's still quadratic, so you still get two brackets. The only way of making x squared is x times x. The only way of making 100 and cancelling out to make nothing would be 10 times 10. And if you want to make nothing in the middle, it must be a plus and a minus. It doesn't matter which order those brackets go in, so I could have written x minus 10 first, x plus 10 second. Similar thing here. You've got something squared minus something squared. This again is difference of squares. It's a quadratic. Multiply to make 9x squared will be 3x times 3x. 3 times 3 is the 9, x times x is x squared. Here you want 25y squared, so it's going to be 5y and 5y. Because 5 times 5 gives you 25, and y times y gives you y squared. To cancel the middle bit out, because there's usually a middle bit in a quadratic, one needs to be plus, one needs to be minus. That's the factorising stage done. Stop that there.